The third part of this bedroom suite build series is building the dressers, and I do have plans along with the bed, king and queen versions, and the nightstands linked in my website if you want to check them out. Alright, rather than doing a complete step-by-step voiceover like I usually do, I'm just going to jump in here and kind of go in depth over certain things that I want to. Because really these are the similar techniques to the bed and nightstand, which you should have already checked out that video if you're a subscriber of mine. So if you haven't already, make sure you go do that. So the first thing I'm doing here is getting the top glued up first so it has plenty of time to dry. And I like to do that because with the glue here, you're adding moisture to the wood, and really this glue will be dry enough we could take it out of clamps and start sanding it in just a few hours. But if you do that, the moisture from this glue is going to swell up the wood, and if you take it out of clamps like just even this first day and get it sanded nice and smooth, and then the moisture from the glue has time to evaporate, you're going to end up with little dishes in your seams. And it's not a huge amount either. It's just kind of one of those things, if you can avoid it, you might as well. So you'll also notice I'm using biscuits, which I don't usually do. It's not necessary at all. It doesn't add any strength. It's more just for alignment. I just wanted to show it as another option because it does help a lot keeping these boards from moving around as you're trying to clamp them up. Another thing is you don't need a ton of clamping pressure. You don't need to just really crank down on these clamps. Just get into your joints are nice and tight. You got good even squeeze out. You don't want to clamp it too hard and create a bow or a cup in your top here. All right, I've got it all clamped up here. I'm gonna set it aside, and like I said, it's gonna take me a day to build the dressers and then a day to do the finishing on them. So at that point, then I'll take these out of clamps and get them nice, everything sanded flush, and give that glue time for the moisture to evaporate. Alright, with the top set aside, I'm going to start breaking down all the plywood. And this is another question I get all the time, is what I'm cutting on top of my workbench here. This is just some pink foam insulation. You can literally buy it at any home improvement store. It just saves from cutting up into my top. I know my top doesn't look the best, but it saves from cutting into it all the time. It's cheap, and I just recently cut it in half to take up less space storing it. Alright, I was just cutting the rabbet for the 1/4-inch plywood back, cutting down the back of the sides and the bottom piece here. And for just a few pieces, I don't really find it worth it to switch over to a dado stack. I just keep bumping the fence over and make a check until it fits the size for the 1/4-inch plywood. Not a huge deal for something like this, but it's the same process for when I do my drawer bottoms that you'll see later on. Alright, I've got all my pieces cut, and just like the nightstands, we're going to be adding the same style of trim, so we can just glue and screw this together and the trim will cover those screw holes up. To make this seam disappear here between the plywood and the face frame, I'm once again just using Bondo. It works really great. I did see Bondo has come out with an actual wood filler product. I haven't tried that yet. This lasts forever. But I don't really see how much better it could get because this stuff works pretty darn perfect for this, just the regular automotive style. I've got all my trim pieces cut, and I like to go ahead and glue my miters together first. Just helps ensure, makes it a lot easier to get them lined up perfect, and they'll stay glued and perfect forever. And this is MDF, so CA glue works really well for this. This is Star Bond. I've used a few different kinds. They all pretty much work and do what they're supposed to, so I don't really have a preference in that, but CA glue works really well on MDF. And something I don't usually mention is when people ask, this is the Accelerator. You put the glue on and then I spray the Accelerator on the opposite piece, and then when they touch, it only takes a few seconds and they're set. Alright, since I obviously don't have the top on yet, I went ahead and just flipped the piece over so I can use my table as the top, and then I can get the crown molding on the same way and just reference the table to get this projected right where it's supposed to be. Alright, now that the trim's on, you can see why these top and bottom rails in the face frame were wider. So after I got the trims added, we're left with the same reveal on the face frame here all the way around. And even the bottom and the top were different sizes than each other because the crown has a different projection than the base trim. That's just one of those details where it helps to think ahead and plan everything out, left with good reveals like that. And once again, everything I used here is available at Home Depot. I did that, so if you guys wanted to buy the plans and make this for yourself, everything is easily accessible. You don't have to worry about making them or trying to find them at places that you don't have near you. The next thing I'm going to work on are all the drawer boxes, and these are the two sides of the drawers. I already cut all these to size earlier when I was breaking down the plywood. I like to set these in place and take an exact measurement for the front and back of the boxes because plywood isn't truly 3/4 of an inch, so it's hard to illustrate that in the plans. So then I'll take my actual measurement, and I believe they're illustrated at 26 inches in the plan, but I'm actually at 26 1/16 here. So then I'll subtract 1 inch from that for the two drawer slides, a 1/2 inch on each side. So then I'll cut the front and backs of my drawers at 25 1/16. I'm pocket screwing these drawer boxes together, and if you've ever used pocket holes, you know they're kind of a pain because they'll shift when you drive the screws in. This right angle clamp actually works really good at holding it, but obviously I can't put a screw in that hole, and even if I were to go to this next one, this board should still move when I put it in. So what I like to do is I'll start here at this top one, and I'm actually just going to leave this out, maybe a 1/16 of an inch, so then when I drive the screw in, it's going to push it right in where it needs to be. perfectly flush right there. It's another one of those things where you might as well just plan for it to move and counteract it by holding it out of where you want it to begin with. Here you can see why I like to build drawers this way. First of all, it's really quick and easy to do. Besides the edge banding, because I'm building 2 dressers, that took forever. But the pocket holes on the back are obviously in the back, so they'll never be seen. The inside of the drawer is completely clean, and then the false drawer front will cover the ones on the front. And then the sides are perfectly clean with no visible fasteners anywhere. And another thing is the pocket holes going into the edge of the plywood is a much better hold than screws going into the end grain. So over time, pulling this drawer in and out, this is going to hold up a lot better. Getting the trim detail added on the front of the false drawer fronts, and once again, this is just a profile you can get in stock at Home Depot if you guys want to use it. Really helps complete the cottage style look here. Alright, and while I'm at it, the new Milwaukee 23 gauge pinner came out not too long ago. Got a ton of use in it by now, and these holes it leaves are absolutely perfect. I haven't had any pins not set or anything like that. So if you're already on the Milwaukee platform, I highly recommend it. And even if you're not, if you're wanting a cordless brad nailer, even a framing nailer now, all their staplers, the Gen 2 models, and this pinner here is the first model, but they're all phenomenal. On my third project now, using these leg details, I finally wised up and decided to do 2 at one time, rather than having to move the clamps and everything a bunch of times. Just clamp them together flush. Then I clamp my square to the table as well at the same time. And I could do more, but my 12-inch speed square isn't square, and this one is, so I can just do 2 at a time. Gives me plenty of fence area there for the router to ride along. And then the last thing, I just clamp on a block here to prevent tear out. And it's really nice this way because obviously it's twice as fast and it prevents tear out in between them. This time, before cutting the legs to size, I'm going to go ahead and cut the tapers, and I've just got to set up on both ends just so I have more clamping area compared to when I did the nightstands. I only had this 1/2 inch of square material here, which they worked out fine, but this way it'll be a lot safer. And of course, if you haven't checked out the bed video, make sure you do that. I show making this jig, and it's literally just scrap wood and 2 minutes to make, and I've used it 3 videos in a row now, so make sure you go check that out if you're wondering how I made that. I've got the little HomeRite spray shelter set up out here, spraying all the drawer fronts, and then I'm using the zip wall poles to set up a bigger spray area. Trying out Chem Aqua's Surfacer this time, and then I'll finish it up with the General Finishes white poly to match the other 2 pieces of furniture. Sanding in between coat with 320 grit, And another thing is I like to use a headlamp when spraying white on top of white primer. It just really helps to see while you're spraying. And I'm using my Graco 9.5 HVLP. So spraying white on top of white is pretty boring. I'll go ahead and get the finishing stages done, and then we'll get these dressers put together. Getting the drawer slides and drawers installed, and it's kind of hard to get a good camera angle in here. So what I did is I just struck a line on these spacer blocks to get it flush with the face frame, and then lined that line up with the center of the slide. And you saw I got the other half attached on the box itself. Jam it in the first time to engage the soft close. Just using shellac again as the top coat, except these are a little bit bigger than what I'd like to wipe it on, so I'm just using a rattle can. All right, thanks for watching. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think, or if you have any questions. I try to get to pretty much every comment. So if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a like as well. Until next time, take care.